Hello everybody, ProxyDamage here from SMITE Central. Let me tell you about something that pisses me off today. Surrender votes, or surrendering in general. Now I know what you're thinking. Proxy, what about that one game I had where I was 20k gold behind, 3 guys AFK and 1 guy basically running around in base doing nothing? Alright, there are some reasons, there are some games that it's okay to surrender, right? But can we at least agree that most surrender votes are knee-jerk reactions and bad, right? I'm gonna try to show you that surrendering in general makes you a worse player, or vice versa. If you surrender less, you become a better player. It helps you become a better player, right? I'm gonna give you a quote here that most people already heard, but it's probably the smartest thing a Canadian hockey player has ever said, or in fact an hockey player in general, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, by Wayne Gretzky. That is 100%, that is the most correct thing you'll ever hear on this topic. Because I know what you think, I know what you're thinking and saying, and like to yourself, well, Proxy, when I'm 10k gold behind, when my team has 1 AFK or 2 guys going like 0-10 in 15 minutes, there's a good odds we're gonna lose. That is correct, you are. I mean, if after all, if the game rewarded you for being behind, if you had a better chance of winning if you were behind, it would be a very bad game, where everybody would just try to suck as much as possible at the start of the game. Not the intended point of a game like this, competitive. So yeah, of course you have worse chances of winning than if you are ahead. But bad odds does not mean impossible, right? And the moment you surrender, then you lost, right? That's the one certainty you have. If you give up, your chance of winning is 0%, that's it. Whereas if you're having a really bad game, might be a really bad odds like 10%, but that still means 1 game in 10. Whereas giving up is 0 in as many as you want, it's 0, you always lose. Now, one important thing to remember is that the longer the game goes on, the less any advantages matter, right? Because experience stops mattering once you hit level 20, you can't level up anymore, so that's it. Like, as soon as one team hits level 20, the experience gap is just going to diminish, because the other team will slowly catch up. Gold is the same thing. Once you have 6 items, gold doesn't really matter, right? You're 6 slotted, you can buy potions, but not a big a deal, right? Once you get to 6 items, gold stops mattering for the most part. So the longer the fight goes on, the less any advantages matter. More importantly, death timers become bigger, which means it's less about having consistent like wins over time, but maybe you can win the game in one fight, right? Once death timers are like 60 and 70 seconds, if you get a team wipe, if you somehow manage to wipe their entire team with 70 seconds to go and a full build, most of the time you can just end the game, right? Even if you're horribly behind before that, you had like one of their towers down, and they had all of your towers, all of your phoenixes, but you win. You win at that moment. As long as you don't lose your titan to the fire minions in those 70 seconds, you win because you can just barrel through their entire base, right? So comebacks are not impossible, right? And more importantly to remember as well is you're not playing at the SPL level. Most of you statistically are not SPL players. You're not playing at a pro league level, so the chance of the people you're playing against making a mistake are also very big. Especially if you're playing at the lower ranks where they're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Doesn't matter how long the game has been, odds are they've made a mistake. So even at the SPL, right? Even at the SPL level, supposedly, or probably I'm gonna argue in favor of that, the best players in the world, right? Most of the best players in the world, sorry, are playing at that level, at the pro league level. But even they have a chance of a comeback. We've seen it before, like my favorite, and a lot of people, I think, the most known comeback in SMITE so far is probably the Season 1 regionals of C9 versus Titan, where if you had stopped the clock at, I don't remember exactly when, but when Titan is like 2 phoenixes down, they're down a lot of gold, a lot of everything. If you stop the game right then and they surrendered, you'd probably go, game is done, right? That was decided, that was 100% decided, the game is over there. But they won! Right? All it took was one mistake. All it took was that one mistake that left their Titan at like 5% health, and then Titan made a comeback. They wiped them twice and they won the game. And that's not the only time this has ever happened, right? You have the infamous 4 versus 5 win where Team Eager, back then Team Dignitas, if I'm correct, they won a 4 versus 5 game with a disconnected player, because of a backdoor with Giannis. Like, those things happen. All it takes sometimes is one mistake, especially the longer the game goes on. One mistake. When you surrender, you give up all the odds of those games. Of those mistakes. More importantly, you don't learn anything. Like, even at the end of the day, even if you lose because the guy went 0-25 in 15 minutes and basically setting the world record for feeding as much as you can, you still have the chance to learn something. You might say, oh, but I'm not going to win the game. Well, that's right, but you can still lose, you can still learn from your positioning. Like, more importantly than learning to play when you're ahead, which is also important, but it's easier because when you're ahead, just, follow the steps. You're ahead, you have the advantage. It's learning to play when you're behind, because that's where most players and most teams are weakest, when they don't get the advantage ahead. And statistically, 50% of any 50% of any teams are going to be behind in the match, right? That's how it works. One team's going to get ahead, one team's going to get behind. And if you know how to play behind from when you're behind, if you learn that, you get a much better chance of winning, any game in general. Not just the ones you're ahead, but the ones where, you have a bad start. Maybe a guy feeds a couple kills, right? And for the love of God, I've had people actually surrender when the difference is like 1k gold, or I've actually had people surrender when they're ahead. Why? What? Don't do that, right? And if all else fails, if you're like, alright Proxy, I know, we're playing this out, we have a chance of winning, and even if I don't win, I have a chance of learning from any mistake I make, or how to hard carry a game, or all that. But I really can't muster up the emotion to put up with his teammates. I really hate them, whatever. If all else fails, be a spiteful motherfucker. Say it, you know what? Y'all suck, I'm not gonna give you the surrender. Right? I'm stuck in here, you guys are stuck with me. We're all gonna learn, or you're gonna keep sucking in here. At the end of the day, if you wanna be a better player, you need to learn to play from behind as well as ahead. You have to learn to deal with the bad situations, because the easy ones are easy. And you know what? Even if you have a 10% chance of winning those games that are horrible, that you're behind, like 20k gold and whatever, even if it's a 10% chance, 1 in 10 games, that one game you do win, damn, it feels good. It feels like you're at the top of the world, you're the best player ever. You walk out of that game that you hard carried with 19 kills and 2 deaths and 25 assists, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. That one game is worth all the 9 others that you fucked up, that you lost, all that. So you know what? If you want to be a better player, don't surrender. That's it for me. See you guys next week.